Encounter is brought to you by the Broome County Council of Churches, where we connect compassion with needs as we inspire growth with dignity. You'll find us in special places throughout the community. For those who remain hungry, we provide meals. For those who are challenged, we build wheelchair ramps. We comfort those who are ill, minister to those who are confined, and we remain an advocate for change and understanding on behalf of every element of our community. Connect and inspire. Encounter the Broome County Council of Churches.
Good morning. I'm Jeff Kellam, the Parish Associate at the Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, your host this week on Encounter. I realize that you make the decision about whether to continue watching or listening based on the first couple of minutes of the show to see if you're going to be interested in it. Those of you who are paying attention, I know not everybody is, but you're going to decide whether to watch or floss. So let me tell you, first of all, I'll begin by quoting Lena Horne and Jesus. Lena Horne, "Don't know why there's no sun up in the sky, stormy weather." There's that old saw too that says a little rain falls on the just and the unjust. Jesus said that. And then there's that thing about into every life some rain must fall. Well, some of us get sprinkled on, and we can cope with it. It drives us to have a little bit of courage and to kind of gird ourselves up for what's next to come, and we can get over the struggles. The metaphor, though, kind of leads us into some deeper and darker territory when the storms in life get really heavy and we find it quite a burden to deal with. It can lead to fear. It can lead to some anxiety that changes our lives and makes life less than a celebration. So today we're going to talk about the rain gear, maybe you could put it that way. More than an umbrella, more than the overcoat, more than a tent. This is a toolbox for living. And my guest today to help us work through that and to tell us a little bit about some of the tools that we can use as we face some of the hardships in life, some of the storms, is the Reverend Jamie Tyrrell, who is the pastor at the First Presbyterian Church in Delhi, New York. And you've developed this toolbox for living, and it's going to be part of a workshop at your church. But I think beyond the workshop, just today we can talk about some things that we as individuals can do to help us cope.
Well, yes, we certainly can. We all have a toolbox, whether we know it or not. I laugh when somebody says, "I only believe what I've experienced," because we do not know most of our experience. Our brain is clicking away, taking pictures and sound bites of the world around us. About 1 per second gets registered in our brains, or about 60,000 thoughts a day. Of that 60,000 thoughts, and they all get put in someplace in our brain, like file drawers, here's my file drawer of joy, here's my file drawer of success, here's my file drawer of catastrophe. Yeah. And it all is happening in the background, like the programs on our computer. And for the most part, we do not know what our own brains are doing. But the researchers who look into this say it's doing about 80% of its perceptions are negative. Most of them are warnings. It's like we have this great early warning system to stay out of trouble. Yeah. And we probably would not have survived like we have survived if it weren't for our ability to avoid trouble.
Yeah, yeah. And when we talk about the trouble that we face in life, and some of us have had traumatic experiences, others have led lives that have been not trouble-free. No one's trouble-free. Your experience, I think, is rooted probably in the way your early childhood developed. You told me part of the story yesterday, and ordinarily I don't start with tell me about your background, but you were born in China of American parents. Is that right?
Yes. Well, my father was British. He worked for the British Foreign Service.
Oh.
And he was the Consul General of Canton in 1948 and 1949. Now that's when the nationalist government collapsed and the Red Army marched into the city.
Yeah.
So it was an interesting time, let's put it that way. My father was raised in a family that did this. They went all over the British Empire and made their careers mostly abroad. My mother was just a spunky gal from Louisville, Kentucky, and she fell in love with my father literally on the train between London, Canada, and Vancouver. She was going on a trip with her mother, and my father was going out to his first posting in Shanghai.
Yeah.
His fiancée had stood him up and he was looking for a bride. And to make a long story short, they ended up getting married after a whirlwind romance is a sort of thing that you'd find in a movie.
Yep. And then came the upset, though, that in the late 40s, the communists were threatening, and your father had to leave his post.
Well, yes, that's true. In 1948, there was a riot in the city. The communist sympathizers were showing their power, and sometimes you show your power by just disrupting everything.
Right.
And he had been called to go there because he had an American wife and at that point 3 children. So he was the perfect symbol of American and British unity in the face of what was happening in China. And the kids were just, we were the perfect chairs in the living room, so as to speak. So it was a great image of the stability and the confidence of the West,
right,
that everything was going to be okay by our definition.
Yeah. But then you were uprooted.
Yes, we were. The city was surrounded. My mother was unable to travel. She was pregnant, 7 months pregnant, when they realized that the Red Army was going to appear a lot sooner than they thought it was going to, and she couldn't get out. She couldn't fly because all the compartments weren't pressurized. So you'd
Sure.
go up to 10,000 feet and you'd have your baby in the middle of the floor.
Yeah, yeah.
So we had to wait, and
Yeah.
the city was literally surrounded. And my older brother and I would count the seconds between when we saw the flash and heard the rumble, and estimate how far the howitzers were away.
And you were 5 at the time.
I was 5 years old, yeah.
Yeah. So to jump ahead in your story, you come back. Well, you come to the United States, not back to it. You didn't know the United States when you moved at the age of 5.
No. My father had been stationed in the U.S. before he went back to China. But I was too young. I didn't remember anything. To me, the U.S. was a foreign country. It was my mother's country, but it was a foreign country. I'd been raised to be a Brit. I was the son of a British diplomat.
Yeah.
So everything was strange. Everything was different. People dressed differently. The toilet handles were at a different height. Everything was strange.
Yeah. And you went to school for the first time, and when people said, so what did you do on your summer vacation?
Yeah, well, on my summer vacation, the whole family was stuffed in the back of a Chinese grocery van with a whole bunch of bok choy in front of it and smuggled out underneath a blanket. And this is not a story that your average 5-year-old can say to his classmates,
Sure,
without freaking them out totally.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I couldn't talk about what I did last summer.
Yeah. And you mentioned then in our conversation yesterday where we talked about both your parents came away from this experience with PTSD.
Oh yeah.
And then
we didn't call it PTSD, but they were shell shocked.
Yeah. And you, as a child coming into this country, a foreign country to you,
Yeah.
You spoke the language, but it was still a very different kind of experience.
Well, I didn't quite speak the language. I was raised in Louisville, Kentucky, and folks talk like this. You start talking about your boss, and the next thing you know, people are laughing at you.
Yeah, right. Kids.
So I had to learn English fast.
Those Kentucky kids didn't call it a bath.
No.
Right. Well, so the point of this is that this is what led you eventually to develop this toolbox,
Yes.
ways to cope and to deal and to overcome.
Exactly. We all have a toolbox. It either has good tools in it that are appropriate for our life, or we're missing a few things. It's real handy to have a hammer, You can use a screwdriver, but you're likely to be hammering for a long time with a screwdriver.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a matter of what's in your toolbox and does it fit your life.
Yeah. So what are some of the tools that are helpful for us on a daily basis? And I guess there's a different section for the toolbox for daily living and a different section for the really rough times that sometimes we go through.
Well, one of the things I discovered is I thought that I was just weird because of my background and I couldn't talk about it. But I later then discovered that pretty much everybody goes through the same things one way or another. It's like the furniture's different, but the story's the same. Mm-hmm. You know, and a soap opera is a soap opera, whether you're watching Downton Abbey or The Edge of Night.
Right.
Now, one of the things that I've found to be extremely helpful is to realize that wondering when the next thing is going to go wrong is actually normal. The way our brains work, we take all these samples, every 60,000 of them, and 80% of them are some kind of warning. Mm-hmm. Without being aware of it, we'll walk up to the corner of a street and kind of hear our mother say, look both ways before you cross the street. You don't want to end up looking like that squirrel over there.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we turn loose with it and go on to the next thing. So if we realize that 80% of our thoughts are going to be negative, then when we come home, our tendency will be to talk about negative stuff. Because we've been rehearsing negativity all day.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Hey, well, honey, how was your day? Well, I tell you, it was okay, except George was there again, and he was impossible. You know,
Yeah.
That's what we talk about.
Yeah.
And so we're practicing negativity, all of us. That's not an illness. That's not anything wrong with us. That is just the way our brain works.
And so when I think about the national news, watching a half hour of national news, we redeem it with that cute little story at the end about the soldier coming home and seeing his kid in school, or the dog that rescued somebody. But the rest of that newscast is often that worrisome news.
Well, people in media understand that that's what we're normally thinking. We're thinking negative stuff. We're thinking potentially scary stuff or dangerous stuff, because that's how our brain works. And if you're going to attract an audience, that's how you attract an audience.
Yeah.
Well, we all have a need to rebalance our thinking about life, which is not the same thing as thinking while we're living.
Say more about that.
Yeah. Put your feet on the floor.
All right.
That's called grounding. We feel more secure with both feet on the floor. That's just natural. Okay? Now, take a deep breath.
Oh, you want me to let it out?
Well, you can let it out. No, you can't. You got to turn red.
Right.
Yeah, and you have a warning that I just might be hard to deal with. Yeah. The reason for doing that is that's how we breathe as children. And it's just for human beings everywhere, no matter what their convictions are, no matter what. If you take a deep breath and put both feet on the floor, it tends to settle us.
Yeah, yeah.
Now just ask yourself, what went really well yesterday? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's see. What do I want to reveal about yesterday that went really well? Oh, went to dinner with some friends, had some wonderful barbecue, and the fellowship around the table was terrific.
All right.
Conversation, wonderful.
Oh, and the smell of that barbecue, was that good?
That was good, and then the reflections on the concerts that we'd gone to, the music that we enjoyed. Yeah.
Yeah, share with old friends.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. Just remembering that tends to balance our thinking about our life. Mm-hmm. And if we intentionally balance our thinking about our life, we come to realize that the really good stuff is not only as real as the warnings that we're hearing all the time. Watch out, you're going to make a fool of yourself on TV. Oh my goodness, you're going to arrive late. What if you have to go to the bathroom in the middle of this, you know?
Yeah, the phone might ring.
Oh no!
Yeah.
So anyhow, there's all this stuff that's going through our heads all the time, and we just need a break.
Yeah.
And so to relax and to recall what's right about our life and to share that with another person makes that 20% of our experience that is good as real to us as the constant watch out, you don't want to become like a squirrel.
Yeah. You know, I'm going back now to the newscast, and if you pay attention to the ads, they're mostly medicinal. They're medicines over the counter, or ask your doctor about this, or ask your doctor. Those are the salve for all the bad news that they're presenting. But the toolbox that you're talking about is looking more toward...
It's within our own soul.
Yeah.
We already have it, it's free.
Right.
You don't have to buy somebody's product.
Yeah.
Our culture is paid for by people who have something to sell you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's one of the beauties of what I do. I have nothing to sell you, but I can show you where this stuff is that's already inside you, is so you can pull it out and use it.
And it's not going to hurt.
Yeah, there are no side effects.
Yeah. My doctor, we were talking about my sports injury with my shoulder. And, he said, put ice on it. He said, there's nothing that can go wrong with ice. I mean, you might get some frostbite, but ordinarily, put ice on it, that's the best thing you can do for it. And so this drawing out of the positive things that we enjoyed from yesterday or the day before, this is helping us to balance then.
Yeah.
So
every night I pray the prayer, Lord, show me something where I saw the beauty of your holiness today. And just driving here.
Yeah.
Just driving here. I had to...
from Delhi.
Delhi. I had to take a detour, and I said, I'm going to be late. I'm glad I left 10 minutes early. I wonder where they're going to take me. I'm going to get lost. The GPS is going to take me down to a dead-end road, and I'm going to have to drive my Jeep across this field and not hope I don't get hit by a cow. All this nonsense. I just took a deep breath and looked out, and the Catskills are just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And filled myself with the sight of what I was seeing in the here and now, and not all the speculation about a tomorrow that's never going to happen.
Yeah. Yep.
That's wasting life on nonsense, the other's living.
Yep. A reminder to our audience, our guest today is the Reverend Jamie Tyrrell, who is the pastor at First Presbyterian Church in Delhi, New York. And we're talking about a toolbox for living, which is the subject of a workshop you're doing at your church. We should mention that for those in the area that might want to attend.
Well, thank you, but I'm also going to do it online with Zoom. You can go to our website and just give me your email address so I can send you the material and sign you up. And you can join us in your home, and of course it'll be automatically recorded, so if you miss it, you can go and you can check what we talked about and benefit from it.
And there's no charge for this?
No.
Okay. So the website is FPC for First Presbyterian Church, FPC Delhi, DELHI.org.
Right.
So that's easy to remember, FPC Delhi.org. Let's talk about some more tools.
Okay, another tool, as we get older, we lose connection with our hands and our feet. And that's just a normal part of aging. However, if we are aware of our weight on our feet while we're walking, if you'll do that 5 minutes a day, it tells our brain to regenerate the connections to our feet. And we can do the same things with our hands. If you want to suddenly change your lifestyle, all you have to do is fall.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. We know that from experience in our household.
Yeah. And then secondly, get on the floor and get up. Do that 5 times a day, however you do it. You want the strength to be able to get up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, whether, and those are the two things that, what's the biggest worry when you get to be 70 or 80? When am I going to have to sell the house? When can't I be independent anymore? When am I going to have to pick my spouse up and they're too heavy?
Yeah.
Well, get on the floor, get up, and walk around and focus on the feel. of walking. And that sends a message to your brain to restore your circuits, your neural circuits.
So that 5-minute walk around the house or in the neighborhood, the garden, just consciously feel the feet on the ground.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, what do I do when I'm walking? Normally I worry about what the next catastrophe is going to be. And I have to remember to feel your feet on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as I do that, it tends to turn this off and turn on another type of intelligence, because this is intelligent behavior. Mm-hmm. And then I start noticing trees, or neighbors, or children, or dogs, and not what I'm worried about.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we live in a neighborhood that is right on the border of a suburban area, development, quote unquote, and then the country. I mean, we can walk a dirt road right there, which gives us the pavement, and then the pebbles, pavement and pebbles.
Sounds lovely.
Yeah.
Sounds lovely. But that is as automatic as the breathing deeply and putting your feet on the floor. It's not something it's so hard for us to do the things that we don't have to do, but that if we allow our bodies to be our bodies, they'll tell us to do it.
Right.
Now, I believe that God's a smart fella, and that when God's a smart being. My wife used to count how many times I said God in the sermon. Get on me. She was a card-carrying member of Now.
Yeah.
But if we just allow our bodies to do what they do, for as short as 5 minutes a day, 3 or 4 times, it is amazing the difference it makes.
Yeah. Often we're told that it is a good thing if you're rooted at a computer or a desk all day, that's your job, that's your work, that it's important to get up, walk around. So this is not simply a physical thing, cardiac. This is for the recesses of the brain, to keep the brain active, not just crossword puzzles and Sudokus, but...
Yeah. But without training, what we do is we take the work we were doing on the computer and carry it around with us. We're not resting our brain.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We may be straightening up our back, but we're not resting our brain.
Yep.
Our brain is a physical organism like a muscle. Now, if we're working a physical therapist and he gives us a 3-pound weight and tells us to pick it up 10 times, 3 times a day, we know if we sit there and we do it 30 times, we're going to pay for it the next day. We forget our brains are a physical organism, and if we overwork them, they produce toxins and so forth, just like our muscles do, and it has to be cleared.
Yeah.
And by just being aware of the floor and leaving the work back at the computer, it helps our brains to rest and clear the crud out and keeps us much more efficient.
Yes, yeah. Where did you come up with this idea for the toolbox? Did you do a workshop yourself or training, or is this just all in your head?
Well, some of both. I have a certificate from Columbia Seminary in spirituality. My father spent a year in a Buddhist monastery as a part of his preparation to be posted to China. I've just always been fascinated with the soul. I read a little Plato along the way, went to a workshop from mindfulness people. All kinds of people are interested in how do you live well.
Yeah.
And I had I had a mountain to climb. And I'll tell you something, if you've had really serious trouble in your life and you're watching this show, you have one of the greatest assets any human being can have. You know there's nothing in life that can hold you down permanently.
Yeah.
And it just shrinks everything down to size.
Yeah, yeah.
I would pay extra not to go through what I went through. It was no fun at all. But you come out the other side.
Yeah. And
you just know.
Well, I remember I began the show talking about rain as the metaphor, storms and struggles. And I think it was Mark Twain walking with a golfing buddy or something, and the guy said to Twain as the rain came down, "Do you think it'll stop?" And Twain said, "It always has." and so, the sun always comes out tomorrow. Now, it may be behind a cloud again, but there's always a new beginning. There's always a new opportunity to start.
And understanding that, there's so many people who, when things are going well, they sort of hold their breath and they wonder when the other shoe's going to fall, or when are they going to, have to pay back, or whatever. There's just this in life, and you can count on it, and it will come up and it will go down, and if you know you can handle the down, you can celebrate the up.
Yeah.
And you can be a decent human being during the down.
Yeah, right.
And remember to be nice to your wife and your children, your cat.
Yeah, right. So once again, our guest has been Jamie Tyrrell, who is the pastor at the First Presbyterian Church in Delhi, New York. And this Toolbox for Living, you're going to start this on Tuesday, September 26th.
Right.
Will that be at the church, or is that the
I'm
webinar?
I'm going to teach virtually that day, and I will do it at noon. And if there are people who want to join me in the evening, just let me know, and we'll do like 7 or 8 o'clock. I just need to know what time is convenient. That's the beauty of electronics.
Yeah.
And I'll do it when it's convenient for the people who want. I am so passionate about this. I
can tell.
Yeah. Well, just to watch somebody come into your office like this or like
bend
that,
over
and then just sit up and smile and walk out. What more beautiful gift can we give another person than the gift of joy?
Yeah.
And to be able to teach, not only to help people experience, but teach people how to teach people to do this is, that's what I live for.
It's the old Frank Laubach, each one teach one.
Each one teach one, absolutely.
Yeah. So the website where folks can find out more about the Toolbox for Living is fpcdelhi.org. That's FPC, First Presbyterian Church, delhi.org. You can also do a Facebook search probably for the church.
Yeah, if you search for First Presbyterian Church of Delhi on Facebook, you'll find us. And on the website, there'll be a tab that says Toolbox for Living. You just click on that and you'll find out everything you know. And we'll have a little thing which you keep on top of our posts for a while on Facebook.
I wish we could go on. I told you this would fly by.
Oh, yeah, so would I. I'm just getting excited.
I know. Calm down, Jamie. Thank you so much for joining us for the Encounter program this week. The Broome County Council of Churches has produced this program for decades, and I'm so glad that Jamie Tyrrell has been our guest today from the Presbyterian Church in Delhi. I'm Jeff Kellam, the Parish Associate at Union Presbyterian Church in Endicott, the corner of Liberty Avenue and Main, hoping that in the coming week you will be gentle with people and with yourself.